What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to our 49ers versus Patriots preview. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Matt Llewellyn. Matt, this is an interesting game because the 49ers, obviously the return of Jimmy Garoppolo going into Foxborough. There's a lot of storylines going into this game. Which do you think is the most important?
That the 49ers don't have their two starting safeties. That's the most important thing. Injuries continue to be a factor for this team, and it's working against them, and, not in a way that you would expect. It just seems like as soon as we get one position group back, we're saddled with injuries in another position group. So a lot of it is, you can't keep going shorthanded into these games. It'll work for a little bit, but it seems like the other guys are working so hard to pick up the slack that, then they end up injured, and, it's no good for anybody. So beyond Jimmy Garoppolo returning to New England and going after Bill Belichick for the first time, it's really one of those things where the injuries are really what's gonna hurt,
Yeah, not having Jimmy Ward and Tart, that hurts a lot. The 49ers defense is already beat up. I was hoping they wouldn't have to deal with too many more starters out, but they did call up Jonathan Cyprien, and we'll see what he's got. It remains to be seen if they're going to go with a guy like Tarvarius Moore, who they probably should if they're trying to figure out what they have in him. Yeah. But obviously, Matt, the big storyline is Jimmy going to Foxborough and his performance. Does his starting job here with the 49ers hinge on his performance on Sunday?
It hinges on his performance every week. What was that? I need receipts, bro. I don't believe that.
Yeah, I'm not buying that.
No. Anyway, can't even believe you flashed that on the screen. No sources. Sauces say. No, but it's his job depends on his play every week. He's not one of these guys that has the luxury of, putting in up and down performances all the time. That's really what has gotten the fan base and likely the team to the point where we just don't know how they feel about him, where the narrative is they can't trust Jimmy Garoppolo. So, it's one of those things where, Jimmy's going to have to ball out every week to keep his job. So it's no different this week. And just because Bill Belichick knows you doesn't make it an excuse to not go out and play well. And that's just what's going to happen because, unlike the defensive side of the ball, I think the offensive side is doing pretty well. Joseph, I need a source. Source is not Fred Warner. I don't even know that you talked to him. Who are you, Joseph? What's the most common name outside of Muhammad in the world? Probably Joseph. Anyway, can't come in here just saying stuff like that, man.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's just anyway. Someone's on the sauce early tonight, and I feel you, man. So for that, cheers. We're gonna get into this.
Yeah. As far as Jimmy, I'm gonna ask you, read you this quote, and then I'm gonna ask you a question from
Sure.
Bill Belichick. I'm glad that it's worked out for him in San Francisco. I hope it doesn't work out for him on Sunday, but otherwise I'm happy he's had a great opportunity to play for a great coach, a great organization, and play on a great team. He deserves that. He certainly worked hard and earned it. I'm happy for him and his family. Would Bill Belichick take Jimmy back today?
No, that's coach speak. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. This Bill Belichick will say nice things about people. So, yeah.
Yep. No, I think so too.
He's one of those. He's not going to dunk on people unnecessarily. He's not the one to put out bulletin board material. He's the one that's going to, pave the road with nice words and kind of kill people with flattery. I don't think I've ever heard him be like, that guy's trash. You know what I mean? So I'm sure while Jimmy was there, he did everything that Bill Belichick asked him. I mean, the problem isn't that Jimmy doesn't work or Jimmy doesn't do what he's told or Jimmy can't talk to people or whatever. It's just, it's one of those things where Bill Belichick's not going to go out of his way to bash Jimmy because that's just going to light a fire under Kyle and Jimmy to kind of, go after Bill a little bit. And, Bill knows that they don't need any more of that going forward. So.
Yeah, that's a good point, because a lot of people read that quote and they were saying, oh, the 49ers should be calling him back today. They should be saying, will you take him back? What will you give him for us? I don't think that's the right thing. I totally agree with you. It's just Coach Belichick being a nice coach.
Yeah.
And I think he's rooting
The
for Jimmy's
fans,
success.
man. The fans.
Yeah.
We'll trade him back. Trade him back. This isn't baseball, guys.
Yeah,
Trades just don't happen. Or they're the little ones like we just made for Jordan Willis.
Yeah, not much. But I think that Bill Belichick might still be a little salty about the whole Jimmy Tom situation. I like that he made it a point to say for a great coach, a great organization, because I think he was kind of telling, Robert Kraft, like, look, I made it a point to not just trade this guy to anybody. I made it a point to trade him to a coach that I think he can have success with. And now it's on Jimmy to make that success happen. So that leaves my next question for you, Matt. What do you think Jimmy can do Sunday against the Patriots? They don't have a stout defense by any means.
No. I expect the 49ers to score points. And really it's going to come down to who can stop who, because our defense is beat up, and as inconsistent as Cam Newton can be, we struggle against the mobile quarterback. So if they let Cam get loose, he's going to be dangerous. I'd like to see the 49ers try to contain him so he can't get outside and force him to be accurate and throw the ball to, let's face it, pretty bad skill position players. The Patriots don't really have a who's who of guys that are going to, burn you up and down the field. It's not, it's not like some of these teams out here that are just seem like Tampa Bay, who just signed Antonio Brown, who now they have just like receivers on top of receivers. That's not what this team is. It's Julian Edelman and, a bunch of really mediocre players. And it's not like Julian Edelman's a Hall of Famer either. So, there's opportunities to be had here for the 49ers, but, it's going to be imperative for the offense to get out again early like they did last week and score points quickly and establish a lead, establish the run, which I'm excited to talk to you about because Kyle said some stuff earlier in the week about cargo plane McKinnon, indicating that the cargo plane might be out of fuel and needs to stay on the tarmac for a little bit. And we might be seeing a lot more of Michael Hasty this week, which I'm excited about. So establish the run, get Jimmy in rhythm early, score some points, keep a lead, get off the field, and get out of New England, with a 4-3 record. That's really, really what you got to hope for. It's the offense is going to, play better against the Patriots defense than the defense will play against their offense. Cause I just think the defense is really just beat up.
Yeah. And, I knew I was waiting for the cargo plane reference, under 10 minutes. We got it. Yeah. I think I know the quote that you're talking about, but, I want to ask you first about your boy,
Sure.
Cam Newton in Foxborough. A lot
of people do me like that early, huh?
I got to get that
Newton's
fire out of you.
As always.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying Cam Newton is going to be the next step in the Belichick dynasty in New England. That once he steps in, it's another Tom 2.0. Obviously, that hasn't been the case so far. They have the 25th scoring offense. They've only put up 30 points or more twice in weeks 2 and 3. And then after that, they've been held to a combined 22 points against the Chiefs and the Broncos. Do you think which Cam Newton offense, I guess my question for you is, do you think the 49ers will see on Sunday? The one where they're able to put up 30 plus, or the one that they've put up, 11 per the last two?
That's going to depend on the 49ers. I think what, the Chiefs and the Broncos did really well was force Cam to throw the ball rather than run the ball. If you take away Cam's best attribute, which is his athleticism, his size, and his ability to get out of the pocket and run and make plays, then what you're left with is a big, tall, mediocre passer. And he's never been more than a mediocre passer. Rocket arm, but not very accurate, especially when you have those receivers on the outside that just are really just mediocre. So if the 49ers can actually keep contained on a mobile quarterback for once, they have a shot at really shutting this offense down. But if they don't, they're going to be in trouble, and it's going to be a long day. We're going to hit those 3rd and 8s where everybody forgets about Cam, and all of a sudden he's 14 yards up the field. So it's really important for them. It's really critical for them to keep him in the pocket and allow for the interior rushers to, finish off plays. Have the edge rushers set the edge so that Cam doesn't have anywhere to go, and let the interior guys clean up. And if you can force him to beat you with, throwing the ball, that's something they're going to have to live with, because the alternative is way worse. I mean, take away his strength. And if he beats you with his weakness, then, hats off to Bill Belichick and Cam Newton. I just don't see that happening. This is the latest that the Patriots have been under 500 since 2002. So they are not the Patriots that, we've grown accustomed to over the last 20 years. Tom Brady's not walking through the door, and I think that was a big part of it. I don't think that Cam Newton really fits the offense. I don't think that the Patriots really know what to do with him to maximize what he is, especially given the fact that they didn't do nearly enough to get him exterior weapons. I mean, Cam is inconsistent as it is, and then you add on top of that you don't have anybody for him, and it makes his job harder. With good weapons, Cam is very, very dangerous because you have to account for everybody, and then he gets lost in the shuffle. But with Julian Edelman and N'Keal Harry or whoever they got out there, if you're losing track of Cam, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, he's not the Patrick Mahomes, even the Carson Wentz type where he's sneakily fast. He's a physical guy who can build up speed, sure, but he's not quick in short areas. So the 49ers, I think the main threat he poses on the ground is just his physicality. He's really good at breaking tackles, or at least he was. I haven't really seen him too much in New England, to be fair.
No, he's actually pretty good running the ball. He looks like he's healed from that Liz Frank injury, and he looks like he's out there. I've seen him take a couple big hits, and he's a big dude, and he still looks like he's pretty explosive as an athlete. So I'm not taking anything away from him, and actually that's where I do think again that he's the most dangerous. You have to keep him in the pocket. If you don't keep him in the pocket, he's going to kill you with his athleticism. So. Again, it's critical for the 49ers to account for Cam at all times, whether that's via a spy or something else. You know what I mean? They just have to keep him in the pocket no matter what.
Yeah, and, on the flip side, going to the 49ers offense, keeping Jimmy upright is going to be key, and they shouldn't have too difficult of a time. And,
they don't really have pass rushers.
No,
they don't really have pass rushers. Chase Winovich is like their best pass rusher.
Yeah. According to CBS, I have some of their stats here. Their pass rush unit ranks 30th in the league in pressures. That's actually according to Next Gen Stats. Excuse me. They only get pressured 21.9% of the time, which is 27th in the NFL. So this offensive line shouldn't have their hands full, and as long as they just do their job and don't get beat
if
by guys that
Grasu can come in. If Grasu can come in and play well and take over for Ben Garland, who's going to be out. Then they should not have a tough time. That's going to be critical. I think that him coming in and that center quarterback relationship is kind of important. So if he can come in, he did a pretty good job in week 1. So I'm not going to be that mad about it, but they definitely need to establish them. Run first. Obviously, that's what Kyle Shanahan wants to do. He said as much. We all know it. And then set Jimmy up for success with those short and intermediate passes, play action, boots, screens, whatever you got to do. And, hopefully take a couple deep shots, because if they're not getting pressure, you might as well. My main thing is you have to account for the McCourties and you have to account for Marcus Gilmore. So if you can do those things, then, you're going to be okay. And somebody commented earlier, Kali Young, the Patriots linebackers are pretty vulnerable. So that's where those intermediates, like if you're running a lot of crossing and a lot of mesh concepts, you're going to be able to cross them up and get some stuff going underneath. So I look for actually George Kittle to be a huge part of the passing game. I know he usually is anyway, but we're talking about, George Kittle being a huge part. And then Deebo Samuel on underneath routes. I could see them running a lot more of that motion shovel pass type offense that they were running last week too. I think it'll be effective. I know that Kyle hasn't had the best track record against Bill Belichick in wins and losses, but his teams have scored points against Bill Belichick. So, it's all there. And again, these aren't the Patriots of that Super Bowl, that 28-3 Super Bowl. That's not what these Patriots are. They have opportunities. They just have to play a clean game. I think that the time slot of the game works out for them well. They're a 125 game, so it's their normal time slot for a game, even though they're flying to the East Coast. They're going to have a little more prep time in the morning tomorrow. And, they're going to be able to get out there and, get stuff done. So if they can play a clean game, mistake-free game, they can come out with a win, and then the complexion of the season kind of changes going forward.
You mentioned George Kittle there, and Bill Belichick obviously came out earlier in the week, praised George Kittle heavily, which you don't see him do to too many players. Aside from his normal coach speak, like you said about Jimmy,
Right.
he compared him to Rob Gronkowski, said that he's, I believe, arguably the best tight end in the NFL right now. And George Kittle last week, I mean, again, he had 7 catches, 10 targets last week, 109 yards, a touchdown. He had a fantastic game. Do you think that Bill Belichick was kind of previewing, hey, I'm going to be planning on taking George out Sunday entirely, so try as you might, but I'm going to put all my efforts into stopping him and making you beat me with Debo or with Ayuk, with other options. Do you think that that's kind of how Sunday's going to shape out?
With Bill Belichick, you never know. It could be one of those things where he's like, I'm going to tell you that I'm going to take Kittle out of the game so that you don't plan to go to Kittle as much or suspect or put in, maybe a couple more packages for the other guys. And then all of a sudden I'm going to play this weird coverage where I take away your wide receivers. And now I'm forcing you to go to a guy that you hadn't been planning. It's this like this 4D chess stuff that he does. Like that game a couple years ago with the punt, and he wanted to drain the clock. So he took the false start, and then it was a delay of game. And, all of a sudden nothing's happened, but he's taken a minute and a half off the clock. And it's, they panned over to him on the sideline, and you just see this like maniacal grin on his face because he knew he had gotten one over. You just never know with him. So it's one of those things where they have to be prepared to, you can't prepare your guys to what Bill Belichick says. You have to prepare your guys to run your scheme, to do the things that you need to do. And if he takes it away, he takes it away. But, Kyle is one of those guys that's going to be supremely confident in his game plan. And, he's the type of guy who doesn't think that anybody's going to be able to take the ball out of Kittle's hands if need be, So I expect Kittle to have another great game, to be honest. I'd like to see him, maybe step it up a little bit in terms of blocking, maybe step it up in terms of, not having the drop or two that he had, but, cleaning that type of stuff up. I could see him having another 6 catch, 90 yard and a touchdown night. It's just, it's going to be that chess match. How does Kyle scheme knowing what Bill Belichick likes to do?
Right. And real quick, I see John Chapman in the comments. John, thank you for the love. I appreciate it. Make sure you guys go and subscribe to John as well. He's got a great channel here. Does a lot of great breakdowns. But as far as George, it's he can try all he wants to take him out of this game. And again, those might be some famous last words, but George is a man. And usually once you get the best out of George, he looks like a man amongst boys. So, and I will say this, if they do take George out of this game, Debo can step up. Ayuk can step up. These other guys, they may be younger, but they've proven to be able to carry a lot of this offense. Maybe not Ayuk, but I know Debo has previously. So I think that as long as Jimmy is playing average to above average at worst, the 49ers should win this game comfortably. I don't think it should be as close of a game. However, I don't know if that's too much to ask of Jimmy at this point. He's been up and down. Is last week what we should expect out of him going forward? Was it truly just an injury nagging his performances? We don't really know. So I'm really going to keep a close eye on Jimmy because that's going to be a telltale sign of how the rest of the season will pan out.
Yeah, and it's kind of, Jimmy had a good game last week, and, it was an efficient game, really. He didn't throw a lot of, hard throws. I mean, the 4th and 2 to Kittle was actually a good throw. That was a really good throw, on target, on time. If they're going to take Kittle out of this offense, it's either going to be because Jimmy's off or Bill Belichick pulls some magic out of his hat, because it's not going to be because of Kittle. Kittle knows this offense inside and out. He knows where to sit in zone coverage to get open, even if it's cutting his route short by a yard or so. It's not going to be on him. I think Jimmy needs to really build upon last week, build upon the confidence in that ankle that it's more healed, build upon the confidence that, last week was an efficient week. And really, I think that Jimmy needs to really watch to make sure that he's not too deferential to what Bill Belichick taught him. Oh, I know that Bill gave me this, or Bill taught me this, go in executing Kyle Shanahan's game plan. The thing with Jimmy that we see sometimes is that he'll get frustrated or flustered, and then things can kind of snowball on him a little bit. And what he can't do is go in there thinking about, man, is Bill going to take this away? He can't think about what Bill Belichick's going to do. He has to think about what he has to do. and let the chips fall where they may. If he's on top of it and he's being, efficient, accurate, getting the ball out on time, then everything should be fine. And the 49ers should win comfortably because there's nothing on the opposite side of the ball that's really super threatening outside of Cam running the ball.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And, I think that the 49ers, this offense looked really good last week. And then Raheem Mostert went out in the second half and they stalled. Yep. They continuously stalled. And if it wasn't for a Robbie Gould field goal, that game would have been a lot closer than it was. So, I just think that this game is going to be – a lot's going to be right on this running game. And the 49ers have had, at least stats-wise, a solid running game. I know you like to say take away some of their major runs. They're not as great. So you can look at it from both angles.
Since Mostert came back, he's actually run really tough. And I think that's a testament to how good that Mostert is. And I think that's why Kyle came out and said – well, we don't want Jarek to – and he did the coach speak thing where he doesn't want to throw McKinnon under the bus, right? He said, he's had like a lot of touches. We've really ridden him. We don't want to do that. To be frank, McKinnon's yards per carry are not really impressive at all. And I think that's the nice way of him saying, like, I see more wiggle and I see more burst out of JaMycal Hasty. We need to see what he can get. I can't remember who it was. Somebody earlier was talking about on the 49ers was saying that Hasty in practice looks a lot like Matt Breida did in his first year with the 49ers, where he just makes a play every time he touches the ball in practice. And, when the players come out and say that, that there's something to it. Whether it's, they're tipping us off that JaMycal Hasty is going to get a lot more work this week than he did last week and in different spots. It's not going to be the 8 or 9 carries in the fourth quarter that he's gotten previously. They're going to make him a part of the game plan. So, it might be a situation where, the Tevin Coleman spot where Jerick McKinnon gets a lot of work on the first series or the first 2 series, and then we see JaMycal Hasty for 2 quarters. So, you never know. But for me, Hasty, I could see him getting between 10 and 15 carries in meaningful minutes and not just at the end of the game when they're trying to nurse a lead. And you need to see what you have. I mean, you've protected him on your practice squad for a reason because he's explosive. He looks like he's got something. And with running backs, you never know where they're coming from. Running backs come from everywhere. There's been a ton of undrafted free agent running backs that have been really good in the NFL. So the players see it. The coaches are talking about it. Hopefully he makes an impact. And we've, continued the 49ers tradition of having those deep running back rooms where we can just pluck a guy and put him in. And then, they're getting runs all over the place. So.
Yeah. And you've been calling, I should say, for JaMycal Hasty, for more of JaMycal Hasty for a while now. Going back to the beginning of the season, I know you kept saying, I want to see what Hasty has. We're finally going to see it, Matt. And I trust your eyes. I think you're going to be right on this one. He might take over that more predominant role over Jet until Raheem Mostert gets back, depending on what he shows on Sunday. But real quick.
And that's the thing.
Go ahead.
That's the thing. He doesn't have to be Raheem Mostert. He just has to be better than Cargo Plane McKinnon, who's like dragging his ass all over the field. And that's I say this stuff tongue in cheek. There's no disrespect to Jerick McKinnon, who's overcome so many injuries, but you wonder how much those injuries have kind of taken out of him. And I feel bad for him because, he came to San Francisco with such high expectations and high hopes for what he could contribute to the team. And, he's just been snake bit since he got here, and now he's on the field, and, I know he wants to be producing. And I just, ever since I saw him on that one long run that he had, I was just like, that straight line speed is an issue. He's not that fast. So I definitely want to see what you have out of the young kid who's got all the tread on his tires until Raheem Mostert gets back. And then maybe you have that 1-2 punch again, where when Raheem Mostert comes back, you're not relying on him, and then he's having a little nicked knee injury there, or he banged up his ankle and he's doing this in and out thing because he's the only guy that's effective at running the ball, and everybody knows it, so they're keying on him when he's in the game. So if Hasty can come in and just contribute, to it, I would say a Matt Breida level without the fumbles. That's all you can ask, and then the 49ers running back room will be golden once Raheem Mostert gets back, and then you have McKinnon on third downs because he's the pass catching back. So there are options here. It's just on JaMychal Hasty to make the most of this opportunity that, from what it sounds like, he's being given for this week.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to it. I think he can do it. I think he's more than capable back in this system. I think he'll look really good. But I noticed we didn't go over the injury report to start off the show.
Yep.
But let me go over these injuries with you real quick, Matt. See how concerned you are.
Names.
Yeah, out. We got Quan Alexander, Raheem Mostert, Jaquiski Tartt, Jimmy Ward. And then questionable, we have Trent Williams and Jeff Wilson. How concerned are you for the guys that are out? And also, how big is it going to be if Trent Williams can't go?
Oh, it'll be huge if Trent Williams can't go. I think him being out there on Thursday rather than just doing like perfunctory walkthrough stuff on Friday is actually a big deal. He was out there in pads. That tells me that Trent Williams is a monster. If he can tape up his ankle and go, that's what he's going to do. It sounds like it was more of a garden variety, like sprained ankle, that it's like a lot of it's going to be a pain issue and how you can tape that thing up. But yeah, if he can't go, that's going to be a rough one. As far as Jeff Wilson Jr. goes, it remains to be seen. I'm pretty sure he's going to be active just because they're going to carry 3 running backs for game day. But yeah, it's one of those situations where Jeff Wilson's another guy that you want to get the ball to because he just seems to be a touchdown guy. On that zero blitz last year, I know a couple years ago they were always running him down on the goal line and it'd be like, Jeff Wilson Jr. has 3 carries for 2 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's just like one of those things that's his stat line is really weird like that. But he's definitely a guy that they can rely upon. But yeah, the Trent Williams is obviously the big one for the offense. Defensively, it's got to be the 2 safeties. And I touched on this right when we went live. Not having those 2 safeties is pretty rough. That secondary has had nothing but injuries all season. Just it's been a rotating door into the infirmary for those players, and you'd like to get them all back at some point, but we don't know when that's going to be. It's just we really got to get out of this game healthy and hopefully with a win because it doesn't get any easier after this. We're going right to Seattle, and that's going to be a rough game to try to get in Seattle. So, get the guys out there, get them healthy.
Yeah, health is key because if the 49ers suffer any more major injuries to key starters in this game, man, I don't know how they're going to do it. But on the flip side, the Patriots injury report as of yesterday, when I printed out my notes at least, I don't know if it's been updated to be fair. Defensive tackle Adam Butler was probable with the shoulder injury. Safety Kyle Duggar with an ankle injury is probable. Julian Edelman, knee probable, and Shaq Mason, calf probable. So it sounds like all these guys have a good chance.
Those guys are going to play.
Yeah, so they're likely going to be fully healthy. And also, I think one thing to be seen, remained to be seen, is last week, they lost to the Denver Broncos, to Drew Lock, and through 6 field goals or something crazy like that. They did not look great. But they also, I don't think they were able to practice much, if I remember correctly, because Cam had COVID. And something had to do with that, and they weren't able to practice much. So maybe that affected that. It likely affected that. So who knows?
I'm sure it did.
We could practice.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. But at the same time, Drew, if I would have told you before the Broncos game, even with no practice because of COVID, and I would have been like, the Patriots aren't going to, the Broncos aren't going to score any touchdowns, and the Patriots are going to pick off Drew Lock twice. You'd have been like, oh, the Patriots are like walking away with that game. And that wasn't the case. And I think that this speaks to the fact that on top of just not only, having, the COVID thing happen or whatever, and having some injuries and not having a ton of skill players, that defense has been decimated by opt-outs. All of their best defensive players opted out, essentially, except for Gilmore. And it's just, you can't, at some point you can't overcome that. And I think that reflects in the defensive team numbers that they have over there. You add on top of that Cam Newton's trying to learn a new system with not a lot in the cupboard. And, it's just a team that it feels like a 5-11 team to me. When I watch them, it feels like a 5-11 team. They've beaten the Dolphins and then they beat somebody else. I can't remember. I don't know. It might have been that Monday night game where Jared Stidham started the game or whatever it was. But Yeah, it's not. Oh, Hung Fat's in the chat. Our boy Hung Fat, VIP over here. Love that guy.
I got the notification. Yes, turn on all notifications. I actually saw
all notifications.
He or she commented recently that they weren't getting notifications that we were live. They missed a couple live streams. Make sure you guys turn on notifications. That way you don't miss a single thing.
Yep.
But going back to the Patriots, yeah, it looks like they beat the Raiders and the Dolphins.
What it was. It was the Raiders.
Yeah.
They beat the Raiders and the Dolphins. And the Raiders, more and more as we get further into the season, looks like a pretty decent win.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the Dolphins, you know, I mean, the Dolphins smashed the 49ers, so I can't really talk shit there either. But, you know, it's not, again, they're two big opponents or whatever they've lost to. You know, they against Kansas City. And again, that was with Newton out. But do we have any doubt in our mind that Kansas City wouldn't have smoked them if Newton had been playing? I mean, there's no doubt. So, Jenna, ER nurse. Are you actually an ER nurse? Nice.
Any predictions on Debo tomorrow's stat line? Go ahead, Matt.
I think he'll have 5 catches for 65 yards and have 2 carries for 30 yards and a touchdown on the ground.
That's not bad.
So I'm just about 100 yards from scrimmage.
100 yards total. I'm going to go with probably roughly 60 yards receiving, and he'll get another touchdown, I'd say, but it's going to be those weird touchdown toss pitches. I guess that counts.
Technically, it's like a receiving touchdown, but it's really he ran it. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him get like a deep post. That'd be sick.
That would be nice. That would be really nice.
Or like house a 5-yard slant or something.
Yeah.
You know, that'd be really cool.
I think a lot of it depends on how they handle George Kittle. Because if George Kittle is open and feasting.
Me too, Jenna. Me too.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a nurse. Me too.
Thank you for your services and keeping everybody safe, especially in this trying time. Shout out to all first responders. Yep. Yeah, we really appreciate you guys. We love you all. But Matt, let's go over some of the lines here. As of last I printed out my notes, over-under is 43.5. It looks like the line.
That's a low.
Yeah. What are you taking, the over or the under there?
I'm a quote the Barstool guys. Bet the over. Bet the over.
I don't know. I think
I'd take the over on that. Like, what was it, 43.5?
43.5, yeah.
That's low. That's like a 23-20 game. That's like, like right around there, 23-20, 24-21, like something great. I just think it's going to be more than that. I don't think the Patriots defense isn't that good. And with the injuries that the 49ers have, it might be an offensive type of day, you know? I mean, unless we completely go in there and skunk the Patriots, which would be nice. But, yeah, that's going to be a tough one. Yeah,
I got to go with the over, too. 43.5 is kind of low. I could see the 49ers putting up 30 themselves, and I think you'll likely get more than 13.
Isn't that the weird thing, though? I could see them putting up 30, but I could also see them putting up, like, 13. I want to see weeks of consistency. That's all. It's just I need them to stack good games. That's all you can hope for.
It's the tale of two teams, and I forget who sent the stat in the chat this week. It might have been Eric Branch's tweet, but it was something, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but it was something like when Jimmy gets the ball out in under 2.5 seconds, he has like 150 passer rating. And when it's over 2.5 seconds, it's like 50 passer rating.
Yeah, that's bad.
That's the exact, if there was a stat that represented this team perfectly, it's that. This team can be really, really good, or they can also be equally as bad. So depending on which team shows up, they could put up 30, they could put up 13. But I would still stick with the over. I want to get this question for you.
Definitely.
From Carlos. Are we hyped about adding Jonathan Cyprien?
We'll see what he has. He's a vet. That's cool. But I think there was a reason why he was sitting out as a free agent like he was before they picked him up. He's a little bit of an older guy, so if you can get something out of him, that'd be cool. And hopefully, his veteran experience will kind of keep him out of bad positions. So, But I think that ties into Eli's question. Ellie. Sorry about that. That 3 safeties on the field, bringing up both safeties from practice squad. Why is that? That's not for them to put 3 safeties on the field because Robert Saleh loves his linebackers. It's to not have another Brian Allen situation. Is essentially what that is. If somebody's playing garbage, they're going to get yanked. So, my dude Zach always keeps it clean with the suits.
appreciate the love.
He's got a new desk, so he's sitting a little further back. You can see him.
That's right. Yeah, and I got my lovely, cherished Bill Walsh autographed helmet right here. Had to
love it.
Bring it out. But yeah, as far as the suits go, I am not allowed to buy anymore, according to my fiance. So you guys are going to get what I have. But as far as Jonathan Cyprien,
couldn't catch me dead in a suit. I wear pajamas to work, essentially. Scrubs, man. Feel great.
That's funny. Yeah, I wear a suit Monday through Friday for the shows. You gotta look good. But as far as Jonathan Cyprien, I actually really like him. I'm excited to see him. I think that this is a guy that intended on making this team. I mean, you remember back in the offseason when they asked him, would you be willing to take the practice squad role if they offered it to you? And he said, no, I'm dead set on making this team. And obviously things changed. He did take the practice squad role. But he's a savvy veteran, like you said. He likely knows the system really well. He had some really good years in Tennessee. And just like you said, Matt, this is to prevent a Brian Allen situation because the 49ers do not want to go into this game, looking around with their arms up thinking, damn, who are we going to throw in there now because so-and-so is hurt. So I like this move, and I think that he is fantastic insurance for this team should they need him.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you want the veteran back there because – okay, maybe in a spot situation, Tarvarius Moore is fine. Maybe in a spot situation, Marcel Harris is fine. They're both going to be out there at the same time, and that's going to be pretty yikes. So why not the other cornerback? Where's Mayday? I don't know where he's practicing, but it's just they're trying to. I mean, Akella's going to be healthy. Emmanuel Mosley's going to be healthy. I think they have a bigger need at safety right now with Tart and Ward out than they do at corner. Because between Mosley, Witherspoon, and Verrett, you got guys that at least are in the case of Witherspoon, even if he's inconsistent, he's not Brian Allen bad. It's hard to know what you're going to get out of Moore and Harris on the field at the same time because they don't really play at the same time that much. Usually it's one or the other because, maybe Ward got banged up or something, or maybe Tart got banged up and you kind of rotate those guys in, but having them both there together over the course of the game and not really have a lot backing them up. I think the safety, call up of Cyprien was more important as far as bringing a guy up off the P squad.
Yeah, I think that's fair. The fact that they're both injured is horrible. I mean, both starting safeties. Like, are you kidding me? You couldn't ask for it. Go ahead.
I don't know what Kyle's talking about, but a grade 1.5 quad. It's either grade 1 or grade 2, dude. If it's more than 1, then it's definitely a grade 2 quad strain. So
is that what he called it?
Yeah, he said it was like a grade 1.5. And I'm like, I don't think that's a thing, Kyle, but I understand what he's saying. It's like worse than just the run-of-the-mill grade 1, but it might not be quite as bad as a grade 2. So it's a low grade 2. That's fine.
Yeah.
But he's probably gonna miss a couple weeks, to be honest, with that. Quads, gotta watch out for those.
Yeah. And Matt, I want to ask you about Quan Alexander with his ankle injury. Sure. That was kind of an injury that flew over my head when it happened. I didn't even realize he got injured. And now he's going to be out this game due to it. How concerning is that to you? And do you think the 49ers will be able to overcome that easily, or do you think they'll struggle doing so?
It's like I said on the post-game show last week, when he was out, I didn't even hear his name called. Oh, let's take a time out real quick. Hunk Fat, thank you for the super chat. We love it. We love having you here. Sorry you missed the last couple shows. I'll just give you a notification right now. Tomorrow after the game and after the press conference with Kyle Shanahan, we're going live. So go ahead and come on back. Going back to what I said, though, I didn't notice Quan Alexander wasn't there at all. I think that Dre Greenlaw is coming into his own, and I think that beyond this season, that makes the team able to really look at that contract that they gave Quan Alexander and decide whether or not they want to kind of get out from under that. So,
Yeah.
That's really, really where I stand on him. I don't think that they necessarily miss him, not as much as they did last year when he tore his pec. That's for sure. They don't miss him quite as much. I think that they're okay without him.
That's fair. I think that this team is able to overcome that injury fairly easily. I don't, not to take anything away from Quan. He brings a lot of energy. He plays hard, but a lot of mental mistakes almost cost this team more than he helps the team. And like I said, with all due respect to him, because I know I've seen him, he seems to take some of his critiques personally, but I just feel like the 49ers might be better off without him in the long run, not to mention his salary. They could pay a couple of solid players with the money that they're paying him. So I think they'll be all right replacing him. And Dre Greenlaw is a fantastic linebacker who likely has a higher ceiling than Quan does, to be fair.
They do slightly different things.
That's fair. Yeah.
I think that Quan is the more athletic player. I think that Dre Greenlaw is the more fundamentally sound player. And
100%.
so if Dre Greenlaw's talent and ability to, his ceiling goes up high enough that you can overcome the athletic difference between the two, then Quan Alexander is expendable, because at some point, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I'm not saying that Quan Alexander doesn't work hard, but there's a lot of mental mistakes there that he just doesn't seem to be able to clean up. The rap on him coming out of Tampa was that he misses tackles. And early last year before the pec tear, he was tackling like crazy. He didn't miss a tackle. And then, he kind of came back early, and it's kind of one of those things where you're like, okay, he's missing tackles because, the mechanism of that injury, he didn't give it enough time to fully heal. They have him in a shoulder harness that's not allowing him to really contract that pec hard with, external rotation of the arm. So you're talking about a guy that's limited in what he can do. He's missing tackles. But then he comes back this year, and it's a mental mistake against Kyler Murray, letting him run past the line of scrimmage. It's blowing a tackle here. It's an over pursuit there. And you kind of see what they were talking about. And then you see Dre Greenlaw, who maybe not the best in coverage or whatever, but compared to last year when he was biting hard on every play action fake, he seems to be in the right place at the right time. He doesn't have the same sideline to sideline speed that a guy like Fred Warner has, but if you ask him to get up in that hole and stuff the run, he's going to do it. And, he's a very reliable player, a very fundamentally sound player. So, there's not a lot else that you can ask of him at that point.
That's a good breakdown of the two, and I think that's really spot on. I want to get to this question here. Thoughts on Parnell Motley? It's the guy that they signed from Tampa's practice squad.
I don't know that much about him, to be honest.
Same here.
I don't know that much about him. He went to Oklahoma, I think.
Yep.
Did he go to Oklahoma? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Big 12 defense kind of speaks for itself. It's not much there. I don't know. There's a reason why he was undrafted. There's a reason why Tampa left him unprotected. I don't know what he's going to contribute much more than maybe like a gunner on special teams. And that's really where, if he's active, that's where I think he's going to go, as a gunner on special teams, because, you don't want to put maybe Tarvarius Moore on special teams when he's playing your starting safety spot. They need to pull Moore or Harris off of special teams and put a guy out there that is an athlete. And when you ask him, just run down the field and tackle the guy. That's kind of something that is pretty self-explanatory, and you should be able to do. So beyond special teams, I don't know that we're going to see anything out of Motley.
Yeah, that's fair. And I was looking up his stats here when I saw this question come in.
Mm-hmm.
4-year player for the Sooners, 3-year starter, 33 pass breakups, 167 total tackles, 6 interceptions, 7.5 tackles for loss. As far as his stats, 6 feet, 180 pounds, 4.5 40-yard dash, 7.2 in the 3-cone, 30-inch vertical. I mean, nothing really screams NFL starter on those numbers.
That actually for corner screams to me kind of unathletic.
Yeah, that's fair. Definitely. So
a 30-inch vertical and a 4.5 40.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. 30-inch vertical? Yikes.
When they signed this guy, I looked him up a little bit, and I thought special teams. It reminds me of them activating Kevin White just to be a gunner. Like I think Kyle said,
Yeah.
we're going to have Dante out there doing it in case we needed him on offense. And then Dante ended up being inactive. So it's like, what are you talking about? But
Right.
let's talk about Dante Pettis.
Man.
Let's do this. Recently, this week.
Can I pack his bags for him?
He's not going anywhere anytime soon.
All I want is a bologna sandwich for him, dude. Just a bologna sandwich. Not even a good one. Don't even put any like condiments on there. Just two slices of rainbow bread and some like, bologna, and we're good.
So, Bleacher Report reported this week that he is on the trade block. The 49ers are looking to move off of him. One, do you think
they've received calls?
That's right. Yes. They've received calls. Thank you for correcting me. One, do you think it happens? Two, what's a realistic, expectation of what to get back?
It could. Like if somebody goes, we'll give you a 7th, I think Kyle will mull it over for a while, and then before the deadline, I think he could actually move. Because here's the thing. If you trade him this year, his salary's off the books for next year. Because he's still got the last year on his rookie deal next year. And that money can go to somebody else who is contributing to the team. Dante isn't doing anything. He hasn't done anything. We're going on almost a full calendar year since he caught a pass in the NFL. That's bad. Yeah. And there's no, and some people will be like, well, Jimmy doesn't like him. It's a conflict between him and Jimmy, or him and Kyle. Okay, but if you're talented, cool, man. You should at least get a catch inside of a calendar year. Like that, there's no excuse for that. I've known plenty, we've heard plenty of stories about where a coach thinks a player is an asshole or whatever. But if he's good, he's going to be out there. You think that Tom Coughlin got along with Odell Beckham or whatever? You think that, right? Like there's people that just don't get along.
Yep.
And that's okay if you have the talent. But, running crisp routes, if you don't catch the ball, it doesn't matter. I would trade Pettis for a burrito from Chipotle too, man.
Respectfully, Dante is a bum, with all due respect, of course.
I wouldn't call a person a bum just because, he is a professional athlete. But as far as where they drafted him as a second round pick, he's a bust. Straight up, He's a bust.
And I think that
no accounting for that, anything other than that he is a bust.
I think that Kyle doesn't like him so much because it looks bad on Kyle. Kyle traded up to get Dante. He stood on the table, said, "This is the receiver I wanted," and a receiver class, so deep with first round starting talent. They take Dante Pettis, and the guy has a solid second half of his rookie year, and then disappears. He hasn't done much. Like you said, I think Mayoko tweeted it out. He just had to say that he's on the trade block, and he hasn't caught a pass in almost a full calendar year, which just killed me. I love that Mayoko had to throw that in there. But I think they move off of him. But I want to ask you this, and then we'll move off of Dante. I know people in the chat are saying, why are we even talking about him? Last question, Matt. Has he, I should say, been mismanaged, or is it Dante's fault that Dante is not succeeding with the 49ers?
It's a mindset. It's a mindset, and you can see it. You can see that there's either distraction or that there's not the passion for football. We know he doesn't like to get hit. We've seen it. Yep. So to me, that's not even really a question. But I want to go through some of the receivers that were picked after Dante Pettis, if I may, for a second.
Gonna break my heart.
Yep. Let's see. Christian Kirk, DJ Chark. Who else we got here? Michael Gallup. It's just there were guys that were after, good Lord, for what we got out of him from a production standpoint, we could have gone in an entirely different direction. When we talk about that dog mentality, every time Debo steps in the field, Debo's a dog.
Yep.
Dante Pettis is a cat. We get it. That's fine. Some people are cats. Cool. But that doesn't fit on this team. And maybe he goes somewhere else and they figure out how to use him. But when the best attribute of your game was being the NCAA's all-time leader in punt returns, and you can't return punts on a team that has no punt returners, there's no excuse for that. At some point, you have to take personal responsibility for your own failures. And it's not a physical thing because we've seen him run routes. We've seen him be fast. We've seen him, in the Pittsburgh game, catch a game-winning touchdown last year. So,
it's so weird.
Question. I forgot that Jordan Reed was still on the team. He's eligible to come off the IR any week now.
I think they said till week 8, like as far as his injury, though, right? Is that correct? Do you remember?
He got injured against the Jets, and they put him on IR the next week, so he should be eligible to return.
I know he's eligible, but I think they said that his injury
week 8 will come back.
Yeah. So
Jay Ellie, he'll call fair catch with no one around him, and then field a punt and try to return it with 3 dudes flying in on him. It's just the most baffling thing. He is so odd.
So that's
it's time to get him out. It's obviously there's nobody that is left that can really defend Dante Pettis on the 49ers. Whether you think his career is over or not, that's a different discussion. But his career in the 49ers needs to end because it just did not work out.
No, and as far as the punt returns, that's the most concerning to me because there's no scheme, there's no, anything that you draw up when it comes to punting or receiving punts. It's you catch the ball and you make people miss.
Run for a touchdown.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that he was so good at Washington doing that, and then he comes to the NFL and has zero success doing that.
But you know what that tells me, right? That tells me that the special teams in the Pac-12 are garbage.
Yeah, that's fair.
So,
if Jalen Hurd never gets hurt, Pettis would have been traded or cut. Probably.
He's going to get traded or cut. This is his last season on the 49ers. He's not going to be here next year. 100% guarantee. 100% guarantee.
Not at all. Yeah, I mean, we can go off of Dante Pettis, but real quick, Matt, as far as Brandon Ayuk and Javon Kinlaw, through 6 games, are you pleased with both of their developments so far?
I think they've both done pretty good. I know that Kinlaw has the most interior pressures out of any rookie or whatever. He's doing a good job. He's not really asked to finish, but that was never the thing anyway. He's a wide-bodied run stuffer.
Yeah.
I think Ayuk has shown that he can be dynamic. The early injury, I think, kind of set him back, but I think that he's in line for that Deebo Samuel second half kind of explosion. So I expect more out of them going forward. I'd like to see Ayuk maybe utilized in a way that's more towards his skill set. I don't think that he's necessarily up to speed on the offense, so they're limited in what they can run for him. But as soon as he figures it out, you can take the training wheels off, and then him and Deebo Samuel together are going to be pretty legit. So hopefully we see some of that this week. But yeah, as far as through 6 weeks, you can't really ask too much more out of the rookies. I think they've done a pretty good job. Yeah,
and especially at least Ayuk with not having Jimmy back there for the majority of the time. You can't ask more out of him, and he's looked good. I think that he's been solid. He's got a nice upward trajectory as far as I'm concerned. And Kinlaw has been stout, I'd say, in that defensive line. He's not a weakness at all. He's not a point where teams can point at and say, this is where we can run right at him and find success. Right. He's really good.
And I think he's a lot of reason why I think Kerry Hyder has had the shine that he's had, because Kinlaw is kind of, taking people out. And that leaves Kerry Hyder open. So, By the way, I do agree with this too. I don't think Dee Ford plays another snap with the 49ers. I know people were talking about he was pushing a sled in practice, and that's a good sign, and this and this and that. But backs are so notoriously tricky, especially one that starts up that high, where it was initially mistaken to be a neck injury. All it takes is one weird movement, or he hits the pad in a weird way, and then he's right back at square one. I think the Dee Ford experiment has been an abject failure. He was one of those guys where we kind of suspected it when they traded for him. It's well, this guy hasn't really been healthy, but he just had a 13-sack season, so let's go get him, for our second-round pick. And then he's just been nothing but injured. So that's another one where we have so many needs in so many other areas. They kind of have to move on from him. And whatever you can recoup for him, just have somebody take that contract off your books.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but we've talked about this previously, and I said, look, Chiefs fan were kind of saying, good luck. Hopefully he stays healthy for you guys because he didn't for us. And I was saying, oh, you guys are just salty, because he was offsides in that playoff game. But they were right. I hate to say it. Yeah. They were right. D Ford has been a gigantic disappointment. When the guy is on, he's on, and he's good.
He's on.
But he's never on.
Exactly.
Almost never on. The Chiefs won this trade by far.
Yeah. He had a ton of, like, when he played 6 games last year, and his percentage of pressures when he was playing was actually outstanding.
Yeah.
I mean, he's fantastic when he's on the field. It's just that he's never on the field. So, again, we talk about it all the time, and this is such a cliche and it's such a trope of sports, but the best ability is availability, and he just hasn't been available. And for, $85 million, you got to play. I mean, we expect more than 7 games that we've gotten out of him?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think D Ford or Quan Alexander will be on this team next year because they're both expendable and they both make too much money.
Yeah. And I agree with you there. The 49ers can't afford to keep them both for the amount of production they're getting.
I think they need to give a bunch of that money to Fred Warner.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Even though Joseph over there thinks that he's going to be gone, but
I think
there's a lot more guys that are going to be gone.
Yeah.
So,
I think Fred Warner is the captain of this defense. He bleeds red and gold. I don't think this guy's going anywhere. His pops is a fantastic 49ers fan, a great supporter of him. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think that he is here to stay. I think he loves the culture here. I think he loves being a part of something that he's helped build from the ground up. And I can't imagine him not only leaving, but demanding a trade. Yeah, I don't see that at all.
He's not that type of guy. Yeah, that was just a silly thing. That was somebody just coming in here having fun.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, he's gone from 3rd round BYU pick to being the best middle linebacker in the league.
Yep.
And he, come on. The 49ers gave him a huge opportunity. And more importantly, they helped him develop and utilize his talents to the best of his ability. Yep. So, I think that on top of just Fred Warner liking it here, I think that the team loves Fred Warner and that they're going to do whatever they can to keep him here because, for me, that would be the smart thing to do. It's just like the Kittle situation. It might not get done right now, but, it's going to get done eventually.
Yep, that's fair. Let's go ahead and take some of these questions before we wrap things up here, Matt.
Yeah.
Jay Ellie, with over $3 million left in cap space, what trades do you think the Niners will make?
I don't think it'll be anything splashy, but I do think that they'll do some maneuvering to either gain more picks or shed some salary for next year, a la the Dante Pettis trade. That won't get them any cap relief for this year, but it will get them off the books for next year.
Yeah, that's a good one. I got to say, I know they traded for Jordan Willis, but they should have traded for Marcus Golden. The Cardinals gave up, a 6th round pick or something ridiculous like that. Golden's a guy who can come in today and have some level of production. I think way more than you're getting from Jordan Willis. And I think that trade was
I don't think Jordan Willis is for that, though.
No, that trade was for the draft pick. I was just going to say that. I think that
I don't think it's necessarily just for the draft pick either, though. I think that pick is to free up Eric Armstead.
Okay. That's
because he's a power guy that's going to eat somebody and then potentially allow Eric Armstead to finish or Javon Kinlaw to finish. Whoever's next to him is going to benefit because he's not necessarily like a burner on the edge. He's not going to be like a speed rusher or anything like that, but he can eat up a guy, and you need, if you have enough space eaters on this team, then, you're going to get, somebody's going to get free eventually. And it's one of those situations where, you got to try to do something. I mean, they signed Ziggy Ansah. He got hurt. You're running thin at a position where before the season we're like, this position is so deep. We don't need to, have anything. So this is just, to me, and also because, I don't know what Willis's contract is, but he's cheap. $500,000 for the rest of the year. That's cheap. So if he can kind of free somebody up, like more the better.
Yeah, and look, I agree with that. But even with all that said, Marcus Golden would be a better guy to have free up. And I think he's going to have a better track record of being able to get production. It remains to be seen if Jordan Willis can get it, can have his skills translate to the NFL because they really haven't so far.
Again, I would caution putting your hopes in a guy who had a really outstanding year. I mean, there's a reason why the Giants were willing to give him up for only a 6th pick. Just keep that in mind.
Well, no, that's fair, but I'm saying if you're going for anybody, you might as well get the guy who's had some level of production. I'm not saying Marcus Golden can come in here and have 12 sacks the rest of the year. I'm saying he has a better chance of being productive than Jordan Willis does.
I don't think he fits.
Well, then that's another discussion. But I still would have
I don't
preferred
think he
to go with
fits.
Golden over Willis, at least for the asking price. But I don't think that they'll probably trade for any more guys. If anything, they move guys. But a lot, I think, is dependent on how they perform up until the trade deadline. If they're doing well, I don't think they're going to start having a fire sale. I think they're going to try and keep as many guys as possible to help gear up for a possible playoff run.
But I do think that they're going to shed guys that don't really contribute and make too much money, like Dante Pettis. That's all.
Yeah, definitely. Next question. Need to look for better backup quarterbacks moving forward. They might need to look for a better starting quarterback moving forward, depending on how it shapes up.
Josh Rosen, go stealing from Tampa Bay's practice.
Yeah, I like Josh Rosen. I think he could have some success here.
Or you could. I'm sure that you could get Sam Darnold for cheap too.
Oh yeah.
They're going to draft Trevor Lawrence for sure.
Is this a must-win game for the 49ers, Matt?
Every game for the rest of the season is kind of a must-win, but I do think this one especially is a must-win because it's a winnable game. Mm-hmm. I don't think that next week is a bright, shining example of a really winnable game. I think that the 49ers are going to get waxed in Seattle, to be honest. And that's not the time. Like, that's not, they just traditionally, they don't do very well in Seattle. And with all the injuries and with Russell Wilson playing like a crazy person, I just think that the best hope for the 49ers to beat Seattle this year is going to be in San Francisco when we get reinforcements. I think the injuries on the defensive end are just a little bit too much. And I think that Russell Wilson's going to go crazy against us.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I'm pretty nervous for that game. His deep ball is fantastic, and it sucks that DK Metcalf is working out for them. He's exactly what that offense needed. They had Tyler Lockett, who's able to stretch the field, but DK Metcalf is just a fantastic wide receiver. He's so good at what he does, so physical. I'm nervous for that game.
I figured it out, by the way.
What's up?
I figured it out, by the way, because Jay Elliott asked what Golden contract was. He has a cap hit of over $5 million, so they couldn't afford him. That's probably why they didn't trade for him.
That's fair.
They couldn't afford him. But I do think that the Russell Wilson thing actually spotlights another, Jenna ER nurse. I don't think I've seen you in here before, but you've been contributing tonight, and we appreciate it. We have to draft a corner next draft. And I've been saying this, round 1 has to be a corner. Like, just spot on. It just has to be a corner. Premium pick for premium position. And, again, that entire secondary is essentially free agents, except for Jimmy Ward. So, K'Wan Williams is a free agent. Emmanuel Mosley's a restricted free agent. Akella Witherspoon's a free agent. Richard Sherman's a free agent. Jason Verrett's a free agent. It's just like one after another, and you can't afford them all. So get a guy, a premium guy, at a rookie salary that you have under team control for 5 years. That makes sense to me. So, go out and get your guy. But I agree. We have to draft a corner. There's too many good quarterbacks. I mean, even one that's just even as questionable as Jared Goff. You could argue that Jared Goff is better than Jimmy Garoppolo. You could argue that Kyler Murray is better than Jimmy Garoppolo. There's no argument that Russell Wilson is better than Jimmy Garoppolo. There's just none. And as much as I don't like the Seahawks because they're a division rival, I appreciate how talented Russell Wilson is. I think that they have to go corner. I know Kali Young's in here, interior O-line. That's what I think they should go with round 2. You can get a guy like Creed Humphrey, the center from, I think, Oklahoma. Round 2, I'm trying to catch this bug and I'm not having good success, but you can get into your offensive line in round 2. And I think that they're, Kyle said they want to go into the draft next year with more picks than they had last year because they only had like 5 or 6 picks or whatever it was. And so they have 8 right now. I think that turns into more with, again, Dante Pettis. Let's see what they can flip, D Ford and Quan Alexander for. But right now they do have winnable games. To go back to the original question, we kind of got off on a tangent, but yes, this is a must-win because the Seattle game is going to be so tough, and then the schedule doesn't get a bunch easier after that, although I think that Green Bay and the Saints are also both winnable games. So we want to take care of business in New England, try to mitigate whatever damage we can against Seattle, and then try to take games with Green Bay and with the Saints. The Green Bay game is going to be tough, though, because that's a short week.
Yeah.
So
it's tough to argue that every game isn't a must-win game unless they happen to unless they happen to rattle off like 10 straight or however many games are even left, 8 straight, then maybe they could drop one, but I just don't see that happening.
Yeah.
I would say, this is a must-win game, especially like Matt said, because it's a winnable game. You need to win the games that you can win moving forward, because you've already dropped some games that you should have won, and you don't have any more leeway to mess up, to slip up.
Especially because the NFC is in such a down year. All you have to do is make it to the playoffs, and you can do some damage. And there's an extra playoff spot this year, and the NFC East is in shambles. That division is terrible. Terrible. The NFC South looks like it's in shambles. Carolina's not the best. They're like an average team. The Falcons are a disaster. The Saints look like they're trending downwards. The NFC North, do we really trust Nick Foles in Chicago to keep it going the whole season? I don't. So really that's a one-team division. I could see all 4 teams from the NFC West going to the playoffs, but the 49ers have to take care of business where they can.
Yeah. Going into some final comments here. I see one from, let's see. Lost it. Khalil Young. Fred Warner's our Pat Willis. He's going nowhere. Greenlaw might equal Bowman. I wouldn't say quite there yet, but they're 2 fantastic linebackers. Fred Warner especially.
I think they pair well together, though. I know what he's saying. I think they pair well together. Yeah,
great duo. Hung Fat, you guys should give away a Warner jersey. We've given away, I think, 3 jerseys since we've had this YouTube channel. Yeah. It was at, I think, 250 subscribers, 500, and 1,000. We're giving away another one once we reach 2,000. So if you guys are watching right now and you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. As soon as we get to 2,000 jerseys, 2,000 subscribers, we're giving away a 49ers jersey of your choice too. So you could pick a Warner, you could pick a Bosa,
and that's
whatever you want.
We like to leave it up to you guys, because Warner's fantastic. I'm gonna give myself a Warner jersey, that's for sure. But we like to leave it up to you guys. It's up to you guys to pick who you want when we do giveaways.
Yeah, we love giveaways. Also, while you guys are in here, comment the final score prediction. If you guys get it right, speaking of giveaways, we will send you some free merch. If you happen to get the final score prediction right, drop a comment in here. Drop a comment on the actual video outside of the live chat. That way it's easier to find if you want. And if you get it right, we'll send you some free merch of your choice. T-shirts, hoodies, whatever you want. We'll send it to you. Let's see. This from Jay Elliott, a win will help Jimmy so much. Most definitely. Especially against the Patriots and Bill Belichick.
Absolutely. Could you imagine if he gets that big win and then all of a sudden he's just feeling himself and it's like confident GQ Jimmy over there with like that $1 million smile when he's like feeling super good about himself and you're just like, you son of a bitch, why do you look so, you know what I mean? Like, we want that version of Jimmy, and if he can beat Bill Belichick, the guy that gave him his opportunity in the NFL, that'd be huge going forward. So, because I don't think Seattle's going to steal that from him, because Seattle's defense is terrible. I just think that, if it comes to a shootout, I think they have the advantage. But I think that Jimmy could continue that momentum going forward for sure.
Yeah, and he's going to need it going into Seattle. They don't have a fantastic defense in general, but this offense is going to need to put up some points. They're likely going to score. Yeah.
It's on pace to be the worst defense in history.
Yeah, they're not great at all by any means. So
they're awful, awful.
But with that said, the offense is doing really well. So they're capable of putting up 30 plus in any matchup. I think that Jimmy needs to continue his momentum that he started last week against the Rams, tomorrow against the Patriots, and then continue it next week in Seattle. Yep. We got, let's see, from JLE predictions.
We'll get there. We're going to get there at the end.
Okay, all right.
I want to do a couple more questions. We got a couple more questions. I'm going to take care of both the Spy Nick Dangers right now. Can Hasty be the difference in winning? I think that he has a shot. I think that he's going to get a big opportunity tomorrow. Let's see what he does. The other thing he asked was, will Kinlaw get a sack? Man, I hope so. I think he might, just because of the way Cam Newton doesn't really run to the edges. Cam Newton runs back up the middle. So I think if Kinlaw can get off a block, if Cam does decide to take off, that it would actually help out a lot, and he could have a sack. So that being said, let's get into our offensive and just our offensive and defensive MVPs, and we'll do our final score for the game.
Okay. So I'll go first. I'm going to go with offensive MVP. It's got to be Jimmy. It's got to be Jimmy. And I know I've kind of been hesitant from picking him because he's burned me so much recently.
Right.
However, I think in order for them to win tomorrow, it has to be a good performance from Jimmy. And you could argue as efficient as he was last week against the Rams. But I think that he can come out here and throw for 275, 2 touchdowns. And I think most importantly, again, we'll see no turnovers.
Okay. For me, offensive MVP, I'm going to go Brandon Nyuk. I say he gets 5 catches, 110 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I just think that he's going to go off. I think that Gilmore is going to focus more on Deebo Samuel because he's the perceived guy, and then they'll slide Gilmore into the slot to maybe cover on Kittle when he's not inline blocking at the tight end position. Mm-hmm. And I just think that Ayuk is just going to eat on the other side. So I expect a big game out of Ayuk. Kittle will be his normal self, but I think for a rookie to go into Bill Belichick's house and have a good game, that to me is game MVP material.
Yeah, 100%. Go-Kart, I see you in the chat, 28-24 Pats, only because they won last week when I bet against them. Go Niners. Yeah, got to switch it up, man. I love it. Same for me. I said it during last week's preview. I usually save my gray suit, red tie, and gold tie clip for Victory Mondays. However, I started wearing it now on Fridays, and it worked last week, so I went ahead and did that yesterday again. Hopefully it's got the same mojo. Okay. Jay Ellie, linebacker, is going to have a day tomorrow. That's for sure, definitely. Yep. Hung Fat, thank you for the compliment, man. We really appreciate you.
Hung Fat is the best.
Yeah, thank you so much. You always
MVP every time.
Yeah, super chats and this great compliment. You guys deserve 10K subs to your channel.
I love the positivity. We like to keep it positive here. We don't, it just makes it way more fun. It just makes it way more fun.
There's too much negativity out there, especially this whole year.
Yeah. Okay, who you got for defensive MVP?
We've been talking about him. Actually, we haven't talked about him, which I'm surprised. I have him here in my notes. Looks like we never got to him. Jason Verrett. I'm going with Jason Verrett. I think he's going to have a pick. Okay. I don't think he's going to give up more than 30 yards when he's in the defender in coverage. And I think he's going to continue his stout performances.
Nice. Ooh. I'm going to go Dre Greenlaw. I think that Dre Greenlaw has a couple tackles for losses, and I think he has a fumble recovery. Wow. All right. I love that. Yeah. I know it's a weird prediction, but that's what I think it's going to be. I cannot catch this goddamn bug.
I got this. Is it like a gnat? Like a little fruit fly or what?
I think it's a little mosquito. Dude, it's been so humid in San Diego lately that like mosquitoes have just been everywhere. It feels like South Florida. It's pretty bad.
That's disgusting. I hate bugs.
Dude, everybody in the house has been getting chewed, so I'm just trying to kill the bug. So
I got this little machine off Amazon. I'll send you the link. And sorry, guys, this is totally sidetracked, but it's this really cool blue UV light, and it's like on top, and then it sucks in a fan, and then it has a sticky pad underneath. So it tracks the bugs to the light. Yeah. It tracks the bugs to the light, and then it sucks it in with the fan, and then it sticks them to the paper underneath. It's really cool, and it's really helped because I was having a lot of fruit flies in my kitchen.
Speaking of sucking them in, I think that Kyle is going to suck Bill Belichick in tomorrow, and I think the 49ers are going to win 27-21. Bet the over, everybody. Talk about a fucking segue, huh?
Speaking of sucking them in. That's a sentence I didn't think I'd hear on this show.
It's been a long day, dude.
I'm sorry. I was completely sidetracked. You said 27-24? Is that what you had?
27-21.
27-21. Okay. Yeah, I'm going with the over as well. I'm going to go with, I think they get 30 points. I think the 49ers get 30 points. I'm going to go with 30-17. I think that's a comfortable score. I like that.
Wow, 13 points on the road in New England. That's a bold prediction, my friend.
I think they're going to keep it going, man. I think they get it done.
That's a big one.
Yeah. Too smooth, Matt.
That was about as smooth as 80 grit sandpaper right there.
Look, anyway, like Matt said, guys, you can catch us here live right after the press conferences tomorrow. Come join, have as much fun as we're having right now.
Just Kyle's press conference. As soon as Kyle's is over, we're going to go live.
That's really the main one. But come join, have some fun, recap the game. Hopefully it's as fun as this one because they won and we're breaking it down happily. But obviously we've had some really fun ones after they've lost as well. So we're just having a blast here.
It's fun to be Chicken Little.
Yeah,
sometimes
exactly.
it's fun to Chicken Little Sky is Falling, Black Hat Sundays,
Yeah.
Let's
Also,
hope we
guys,
don't have a Black Hat Sunday.
hopefully not. Also, if you guys happen to see any overreactions throughout the week, or I should say from Sunday evening to Monday, send them to us, because Tuesday we do an overreaction show where we get the best overreactions that we see on social media and we react to them.
Yeah.
So go ahead and do that. You can tweet them at us at 49ers Hive. And also, like I just said, we do a show Tuesday through Friday called Niners News here on 49ers Hive. If you guys haven't watched it, you guys will love it. It's just like this. We talk about one topic for 10, 15 minutes per day. And we put out new videos, 5-6 days a week. So you guys got to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And like I said earlier, once we get to 2,000 subs, one of you guys is getting a free jersey of your choice. So
absolutely,
can't get any better than that.
Yep.
But I think that's going to do it for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We really appreciate you guys. We love doing this stuff with you. Super fun, even more so than the videos that we record. We love doing the live stuff because the fan interaction and you guys coming in is just super cool. So thanks again, guys. I think we're gonna see you guys tomorrow. So hit the subscribe button. Yeah. Click the bell for notifications. And hopefully it's a great game tomorrow. So until next time, guys, go Niners.
Yes, sir.